What we're going to see right now is the first time in 8 years that Siamak Namazi has been able to breathe free air. I mean, this is a huge moment for him, and his mother, as Becky has told us, is on board this flight as well. You had Ahmad Shargi, who his sister, I've been following her, the family's struggles for years now. She was just up here on set with us, pleading the case for the Biden administration to continue to negotiate, to try to get these Americans home. And this is one of those moments that it would be impossible to try to think of how they're feeling right now as they're about to open the hatch.
You know, it's such a short flight from Tehran to Doha. It's just across the Persian Gulf, a short distance, but a huge distance, metaphorically, for these people who, a month ago, did not know if they would spend the rest of their lives imprisoned in Iran with virtually no hope of due process, no hope of getting out. So just think of what this is like when they emerge from that door.
Yeah, and we will maybe finally learn eventually who the other two Americans are, because we've only seen Siamak Namazi, Ahmad Shargi, and Morad Tabaz. We know that they were in prisons, but there are two other Americans whose names and images have not been released. So we may find out who they are. We know that there are two other members of the family who were not detained, but who were not allowed to leave Iran this whole time. And so as you watch this is an excruciatingly wonderful moment. It must be an overwhelming moment as they walk out, and we are seeing that happen right now. We're trying to see from our vantage point
so that
looks like Morad Tabaz.
That's Morad, yeah.
No, the first one I think is Ahmad Shargi, then you have Morad Tabaz, and then you have Siamak.
Christian Amanpour is here. She's been covering this for a very, very long time.
Christian's going to get mic'd up real quick. You have Ahmad Shargi, which looks like Ahmad Shargi shaking the hand of the U.S. ambassador to Qatar. Then you have Morad Tabaz, and right there in the back is Siamak Namazi. Christian, after all of this time and the conversations you have had, and Siamak, let's just watch this, guys. Let's stop talking for 1 second.
I mean, we have been watching extraordinary pictures, the embrace, the long embrace of some of those who have just left Iran. They were on the plane an hour and 45 minutes. They are now on their way home, and they are certainly now free in Doha. Christian, as you're watching this, what are you seeing, and what are your thoughts as you've covered this for so very long and even talked to Siamak, who was in Evin prison and sounded terrified, but he spoke out, hoping beyond hope that the administration would finally help get this done?
Well, look, it's an amazing day for diplomacy. It's an amazing day for humanity. It's an amazing day for their families. Most particularly, it's an amazing day for them, because certainly Siamak has been, held nearly 8 full years, some of it under incredibly harsh solitary confinement, harsh interrogation under the auspices of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, then was able to be moved to a slightly less awful part of the prison, where he met up with Ahmad and Morad, and was able to have, a little bit less of a horrible time, but nonetheless in confinement and unable to be, free, clearly.
Siamak just released a statement through his attorney. It's a lengthy statement, but just the beginning of it. I would not be free today if it wasn't for all of you who didn't allow the world to forget me. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for being my voice when I could not speak for myself, and for making sure I was heard when I mustered the strength to scream from behind the impenetrable walls of Evin prison.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, really. It's great that he had that courage. It's great that he was encouraged to follow through on that courage. He did, as you know, an op-ed he wrote to the New York Times. He went on a hunger strike for several days after he had spent his 7th year in prison to concentrate the minds of those who were able to liberate him, and that was the US administration, the Iranian regime, and all the governments who've been helping, Qatar, Switzerland, etc., who the president has thanked. And I think really poignantly in Siamak's statement is that he has said that he cannot forget the dozens and dozens of prisoners who are still left behind. Not Americans, but nonetheless Iranian citizens who suffer every single day under the dictatorial, authoritarian regime, most particularly those people who've been put in jail for simply standing up for the right of women to be free and to be fairly treated in their country. Many, many of them are still obviously in prison, and he has, in this moment of his own freedom, has had the generosity and the presence of mind to always remember them as well.
It is a beautiful thing. We've also got a statement now from the Tabaz family, the family of Morad and Vida Tabaz. They said, look, we're overjoyed and relieved to have our loved ones finally free. Grateful to the President Biden, his administration, for making the difficult but necessary decision to prioritize the lives of American citizens over politics.
When you think about the uncertainty that they lived under for as long as 8 years, when you think about the repression, you understand the hugs that we saw there, the tight hugs on the U.S. officials.
You know, Jason Rezaian, when he was on recently, he said that it was right after the tentative deal was discussed. He had said that just the night before his release, things almost fell apart.
Right.
And he said, not until you are literally on soil, on free soil, was he going to breathe a sigh of relief. And that's what John Kirby said to us just earlier. He said, we're not going to breathe.
You saw that, right?
We're not going to breathe.
It was several hours delayed because of all these snafus with, is the money there, isn't the money there, what are the deals, this and that.
It's that hug.
Yeah, this is the hug. That's Siamak, obviously. Standing next to him with the mask is Morad Tabaz, and there are Qatari officials who are also with them. To that side, to the left of the screen, is Ahmad Shari. And I would just say that, you know, this is part of the statement. While in Evin prison, says Siamak, I experienced the worst of humanity every day. But outside of these walls, there were countless people who reminded me of the best of humanity. So that's, you know, that's really great.
Yeah.
It is. You know, said it all. There's a lot involved here, as we know, but just I think
getting
one
double, you know, heartbreak for the Namazi family is that several years ago, Siamak's dad, Bare, who's an elderly man, a retired UNICEF official, was lured to Iran as if to see his son, maybe to help release his son. And what happened to him? He was snatched.
Right.
And then Siamak told us in the interview that he didn't even know until the Iranians presented him in one of the interrogations as emotional blackmail, you know, a picture, as he said, of his father in prison garb. And that caused him some tears during our interview. Fortunately, the father, over the last year, was allowed to be released.
But he was very ill. I mean, there was reasons.
He was ill. I mean, it was absolutely appalling. And now they're all in the Washington, D.C. area, ready to meet.
Before we jump, I just received a statement from the Shargi family as well, since we were reading these things out, and it's just really quite special. Neda Shargi, she's a sister of Ahmad, who has long advocated and fought for his release. She just said simply, my family is so happy to hear that Ahmad is no longer in Iran and is on his way home. We've been waiting for this day for almost 5.5 years, and I cannot wait to hug my brother and never let him go.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You can see the beginning of those hugs there. Oh, and look at those, the 3 men.
That's so cool.
Walking to freedom now from the plane. They're going inside. There's going to be some processing. And then I think not quickly enough for them. They're going to get on a plane back to the United States, back to Washington, D.C.